evolved from kind of one base play from Protoss into always getting a forage first for the expansion into, all right, based on the map, based on the rush distances, this is going to be the very first thing that Protoss try on a new map. Is they're going to say, hey, teammate, I want you to 6 pool me. I want you to 10 pool me. I want you to 14 pool me. And they figure out those timings. It only takes a couple hours for them to figure that out. And so Puck, he goes for the forage. He has the cannon already on the way and the gateway. And really no amount of lings is going to break this. So I think either an early third or some sort of tech here from Vibe tends to be the standard play.
Yeah, I think so. I certainly would. Apologies, folks. We had a little bit of a problem with the scoreboard. That should now be properly reflecting what we should be seeing. Oh, man. All right, yeah, we're having a lot of problems right now, so we're just trying to get that resolved for you as quickly as possible. Cybercore going down there for Puck. He'll complete the wall off, and things will be nice and safe. The question is, I suppose, what ends up coming in after that?
Yeah, for Protoss, it is Forge Fast expanding is amazing, because the idea is that you can do things like a super aggressive opener, like a 7 or 8 gate. You can do things like 1 Stargate, 2 Stargates, and really we're just going to have to see exactly when he starts to throw down the additional gas at the expansion. That's going to really tell us exactly what's going to be headed that way. Now, a lot of Zerg players, especially if they're going to be going for the early third here, are going to be really just trying to scout a lot, and it's going to be up to them to react accordingly. That's kind of how Zerg tends to play out. You think of Terran, for example. Marine Marauder is a pretty good unit composition versus just about anything. And what that means is that Zerg, on the other hand, they don't really have a unit composition that is like that. So they need to get that scouting in, need to know what's on the way, and then they tend to, not always, but they tend to adapt their build based on whatever the Protoss kind of pacing that they're going to be setting here.
Yeah, certainly. We've got a third hatch coming down here from Vibe, and now he's taking his first 2 gas. Going to take those on the natural here. We've got to see Stargate behind this. So, generally speaking, there's like 3 different things you can try to pull on this position that are standard, and then there's a bunch of stuff that isn't. So Stargate is one of those, especially in Heart of the Swarm, and we see a lot of either Phoenix play or Oracle play coming in from there. And then if you compare it to the other builds, there's the really standard one, which is to go for the +1 Zealot aggression towards the third base, and then you can do stuff like throw a DT behind it. Now, in this case, I imagine from Puck, considering we're probably going to be seeing Phoenix coming out.
Yeah, and you can, the problem with using the Oracle is that Queens are always an issue, so sometimes you will see the Phoenix mixed in, but it is going to be a Void Ray this time. Now, Void Rays are actually really, really good against any kind of Roach timing, Mass Zergling timing. We don't really see Banelings hardly ever anymore, but it would be good versus that as well, just because, of course, they're in the skies. Now, I kind of like this from Puck. Is the Overlord actually going to spot the... Yes, it did spot the robotics facility right there, so Vibe is going to get a good scout there. He knows that there's a Void Ray building, because you can see what it looks like in the Stargate, and he knows that something's coming out of the robotics. He may assume that's going to be an observer. It is going to be an Immortal, as a Sentry finally does take that out right now. But I'm really curious to see exactly how Puck plays this out, because he's already adding on 1 more gateway. We'll see if he adds on more here. He's got all 4 gas going, and the Void Ray is going to move out. Now, the one thing I want to say is that Void Rays are very difficult to put on early pressure right now, just because they move slow. They definitely don't move as fast as a Phoenix, as an Oracle, as anything like that. So I think what he's doing right now is he's just on Overlord cleanup.
Yeah, he's going to have a look around and see what he can see. And the thing is, he is building Immortals behind this. So we're going to be seeing a combined piece of pressure. Gateway units, Immortals, and Void Rays. Notice the number of gateways that's going down behind this. He's already revealed the Void Ray, which means he wasn't intending to surprise with it, and that probably means he will try and do something with it, but it's most likely going to be a case that he will go and attempt to attack with a larger force at the front here, with a composition that involves the Void Rays as well. The last thing he wants is to get these caught out in the center of the map and to get them killed, but right now, of course, that's not going to happen. But once these Hydras come out, that will. So he can't really just wander around and say, hey, yeah, it's cool, don't worry. We can just go and attack with these, because it's just too dangerous to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a very aggressively postured build here from Puck. He's cutting probes right now. He's adding on 6 gateways, and he's continuing to make Void Rays and Immortals. Right now, he's got at least 1 Immortal back in his base. 3 total, actually, as there is now that he's grouped them all together here. So this is kind of a little a little spin of a Sentry Immortal all-in that we used to see in Wings of Liberty a lot. Now he's going to be mixing in the Void Rays. I got to say that Vibe, like we were saying before, I think is doing the correct thing here, making a lot of Hydras, because Hydras are good versus every unit that you're seeing on the field right now for Puck. So as long as he can get enough of those out, he's going to be okay, especially if he snipes this Mothership Core. That would be huge. He only needed one more volley from those Hydras to take that one out right now. So really, this is going to be, you know, strike while the iron's hot type build here from Puck. If it fizzles out, he's going to be in bad shape. And this is a huge concave from Vibe right now. The Zerging's going to be running in there. The Hydras, though, do get force fielded, but they don't care because they're just going to be taking out all these Zealots. So at this point, it's going to be non-stop reinforcements from both players, and may the best micro win.
Well, we've got the Vibe trying to move away here. I mean, he's taking engagement on creep, which is always nice, but that was pretty good there from Puck, I feel. He did pretty well with it. However, what I will say is that he wasn't really able to turn it into anything. He was pressuring towards the third, but Vibe had already spread his creep up here, which means that it's much, much more difficult to do. He's actually left a few Zealots here, which may go for a run-by, but they'll have to do it on creep. There is actually, you could skirt the edge of it. That is actually possible, but it seems unlikely that that will actually end up happening. So the Hydra Force did deflect it quite nicely there. However, Vibe has lost a lot more cash than his opponent. Vibe, however, is on significantly more income. He's had a third base running for quite some time. He is sitting on 70 drones versus 48 probes. Puck really needed to take the third out with that attack, and he didn't, which puts Puck behind.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, I didn't realize exactly how much damage that actually did. I mean, yes, Vibe did end up losing more, but having those power Hydras out right now just makes any sort of gateway, Immortal Void Ray, unit composition, it doesn't matter what you have, it is not going to work. And I gotta say, the supply is already looking really, really good for Vibe here. He can expand on the back of this and start putting out some pressure. The Overseer there did scout it out, and you gotta remember that I think, well, actually, Puck might have to cancel this right now.
This is gonna be a cancel right now. Surely there's no way he's gonna be able to save this. No, that's a straight up cancel. And the question is, does Vibe lose a lot of units? Absolutely not. Those force fields did not help at all. He killed maybe 3 Hydras there. This entire force gets away. That's the risk with going forward with Hydras like this, especially considering these are Hydras without speed. They're Hydras with range, but he hasn't got the speed upgrade yet. So it's really risky to go and try and take the third.
I gotta say that this is actually a great play here by Vibe. I mean, he hasn't been making drones for a long time. He has just enough Hydras to be able to get that center map control. He has the +2 attack now, gonna be on the way. And all of a sudden, I mean, this army just looks terrifying. And look at how much money Vibe has in the bank. He's nearly maxed out. And if he loses this Hydra army, that's okay. He actually has some money to replenish this right now. He just needs to make sure to engage with a good concave like he was attempting to do there. Because now this is the stage where we see Colossus on the field. Now, Colossus are very, very good versus Lings and Hydras, but this is giving Vibe the time he needs to either expand, which he is doing, or tech, which he is also doing. He's got the Hive tech on the way, as well as Enduring Locust on the
big
back.
Hydra push right now, and this is a little bit risky because, of course, he's off creep. He's using slower Hydras to do it, but he's able to take out the Forge, delay those upgrades, and then pulls his opponent's army back and forth, back and forth. But the time warps come down right now. Good force fields could mean the end of this Hydra Force, but they're not good at all. They miss, and Vibe is able to get out there with most of his units. Now he's going to push again. Oh, Colossus is out of position and dies immediately. What a great snipe there from Vibe. And now he's going to transition into Swarm Host.
Yeah, the Hydras do actually have speed right there, which is why he is able to take out those Colossus that are out of position. The Hydra's going to be retreating right now. And notice that he also has this army split up in 3 different ways. Kind of hard to tell if that's specifically intentional or not, but what it means is that if that army gets out of position, he's only going to lose a fraction of it. Now, Puck realizes, uh-oh, I'm starting to fall behind a little bit. There's some new tech on the way, and indeed there is. Swarm hosts are just moments away, and actually there already are some in a defensive position. The Zerging's got to try and get a surround here. The Hydras, almost every single one, is going to be attacking, and this is a great, great concave right now for Vibe, and he's going to be forcing that army to retreat.
Zealot run by the third base. Puck trying to do some damage here, but the Lings are going to come and actually clean this up pretty quickly, so that hasn't really done a lot at all. Vibe is doing really, really well right now, but he's got to deal with this attack on the 4th base, and he's not going to be able to do that. That is going to die. The question is, does Puck's army advance from here or just retreat? Picking off that 4th is pretty crucial, but honestly, it looks like because the Swarm Host is in a really awkward spot right now, Puck's actually going to end up getting trapped. He could end up getting surrounded by the Locusts coming in and the Ling reinforcements. Army supply between these two, it's not looking so good for Puck, I've got to say. He's got a pretty powerful army, but it's nowhere near as large as Vibe's.
Yeah, I mean, Vibe has done a great job here throughout this game. I mean, really killing off that 4th base was an absolute must for Puck. That is going to be the only thing keeping him in this game right now because the supply is heavily favoring Zerg. He's still got a lot of money in the bank. He is running low on gas, which is why killing off that base was so crucial right now. But really, if Vibe is continued, if he's able to get up a 4th and 5th base, it is going to be so tough for Puck to be able to deal with it. Thankfully for him, he does have 3 bases secured now after losing it for the first time. He is up to 68 probes right now, so he's starting to get some good saturation here, starting to get up his army once again. But I would say that so far, I've just been impressed by Vibe's play. His reactionary play is great. All he needs to do from here on out is hang onto these bases, keep the upgrades rolling, and then maybe eventually just get rid of some of these Hydras because he's either going to need Corruptors or Ultras or Broodlords or something else because Hydras are only going to get you so far if there's no meat to it, if there's no roaches or anything to absorb some of that damage. Hydras are tough to pull off. We'll see if he can do it here, though.
An attempted run-by onto the 5th base is defeated quite nicely. Puck's actually extending way onto creep here. This could be very, very dangerous indeed. There's 18 swarm hosts on the map, and Puck's army is not that big. He's got a lot of Colossus, but Vibe is maxed out. There's a Ling run-by, a nice one as well, which is keeping a lot of these sentries back. And Puck's going to try and take the 4th base out again. He's going to be able to force a cancel on that one. And he's going to save his 3rd, which is pretty important. We do need to see that happen from him there. The Lings are still trying to make their way through. They almost did as well. They almost took this base out, but it was saved quite nicely there by Puck. So Puck's starting to get back into the game in terms of his economy. He's killed a lot of drones. Bear this in mind. The actual workers killed is huge right now. We've currently got 59 drones versus 71 probes. Puck's trying to take a 4th base. That's not going to happen. I mean, Vibe's not going to allow that to happen. He's got 18 swarm hosts now, which are going to start to pressure their way through. And they're just within range. Just. The Locusts can get a couple of shots up before they actually die. So they don't force a cancel this time around, so Puck might be able to defend it. But if Puck fights there, he's going to lose so much. And now Vibe's also got Vipers in his composition.
Yeah, we were mentioning before needing a little bit of meat to the army. The swarm host count is now that meat. So
run by. Puck's looking to try and take that 4th base out again. Stack defense isn't up. Puck's 4th is definitely going to be cancelled here, but he's trying to take the 4th Vibe out as well, and he's going to be able to do it. The stack defense isn't finished.
Yeah, and it would be wise for him to allow these... Oh my god,
he hasn't killed it yet.
Off that hatchery. It has
he's going to poke it. Puck, you got to kill that. This could be the silliest save in history right here. Man, it's on 14 health now. Down it goes.
There it goes.
Man,
he did individually select those guys and was like, all right, we actually need to kill this off right now. And, you know, I was thinking about it. I guess these Hydras are going to end up working out here, TV, because he's got the Vipers now to yoink over the Colossus. Colossus aren't very good when they're sitting directly on top of a big Hydra ball.
No, they really aren't. There's the Swarm Hosts and the Vipers. The problem is, once you get the Vipers, the Colossus basically are dead meat. They get absolutely destroyed. So you need to kind of try and transition out there. There's only a single Templar on the map right now here for Puck, but he is almost maxed. Oh no, this Templar run right into the Locusts and get sniped off immediately. That's disastrous. The last thing you want to do is lose 3 Templar as they're charging energy. Puck gets into a defensive position, gets a Storm right there on the Locusts, and is now trying to deal with it. But as I said, those abducts are coming in. One goes down, second Colossus goes down there as well. There's a fungal in the middle of this as well, and Vibe is battering on this army, but I gotta say, these Colossus stayed alive way longer than they should have, and the Hydras are getting blitzed as a result.
That is a huge victory right now for Puck, getting a wonderful angle. The force fields were great. One thing I like that Vibe did was pull the Colossus into the force field, which allowed the Colossus stepped on them, so the Locusts continued for it. Did the Observer get taken out? I think it did, and my god, that was such a brutal battle there. Both players ending up losing basically the majority of their army. Now, the question that always happens after Protoss loses an army is the Zerg able to remax out? We see 26 Hydralisks on the way. That is basically cutting into his savings. That is all he has left. So are those 26 Hydras going to be enough to win him the game? On the back of this, Puck did expand, but my god, we do have a very epic game number 1 here because both players have had some awesome counterattacks. Both players have had some victories on the field, but right now, who comes out ahead after that? I mean, it's definitely a tough call, and there's not as many Swarm Hosts out now. I don't know if we're ever going to see as many Swarm Hosts as we saw there. He does have 5 more on the way, but I got to say, it's tough for Protoss to get an engagement like that. There's also a Zealot attack on the right.
Yeah, and also the creep isn't actually connected right now, which means responding to that is going to be a little bit trickier than it otherwise would be. I would be very surprised if this went down, but if Vibe doesn't actually respond quickly enough... Oh, more Zealots are coming in. He could pick this off, I think. Can he focus it down? It's so close. No, he's going to take it.
The Hydra's turn around there, giving up that hatchery right there.
Oh, man, that shouldn't have happened.
I think he was focused on the War Prism here on the bottom left side. Knows his army's moving over there. He accidentally hotkeyed those units as well.
Oh, that War Prism's not going to live. That's going to get abducted right into the Hydraless ball, and down it goes pretty much immediately. Vipers are a great, and I've got to say, they are a great counter to War Prism because of that. You can pull them out of position into the range of your enemy, and I believe that War Prism is also a speed War Prism as well, so that's pretty good. Now, upgrades-wise, Vibe has had the lead for the time being, but we've got shields and +3 coming out for Puck, so Puck is eventually going to have better upgrades than Vibe at this rate. Vibe is not upgrading +2 Carapace. He is on +3 ranged attack, but if he ever wants to transition to something that doesn't involve that, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's basically relying on Hydras as his endgame unit here.
One thing I also just noticed in the upgrade tab as well is that Puck had +1 air attack there. So that was from way earlier in the game when he actually started to use those Void Rays. But one thing to keep in mind is, guess what? We got another Void Ray on the way, and we could see a tech switch to Sky Toss. That is always a viable option here. It's not an easy I win button by any means, but if it's something where you slowly start to add in more and more air units, then it's something that can end up working out for you. Now that I think one of those Void Rays is like OG. He's got 11 kills there. But most importantly right now is the Templar count. One thing I always mention about Protoss, they have the most tier 3 units in the game. You have Colossus, Templar, Archons, and then of course you have the Carriers and the Tempest. You have so many options now that Protoss tends to feel most comfortable in the late game, and I think we're starting to see Puck kind of explore that a little bit by getting up a lot more high-tech units, which is exactly what he needs versus the Swarm Host Hydra.
Very true. The nasty thing about dealing with Swarm Host, of course, is that you feel like you're losing for your units for nothing. And you've got to really avoid the position of it. Puck's doing a great job of not engaging these Swarm Hosts directly. If he does that, then he will take a huge amount of damage, because these things actually have ridiculous damage per second.
Yeah, the DPS on those is something where if you get backed into a corner with Locust on one side, Hydras on the other, it is one of the highest DPS unit compositions if all those units are actually attacking you at the same time. That is a situation you absolutely have to avoid, and that's why you're seeing Puck start to kind of jockey around the map, trying to get his maxed out army, which he now does have. Taking a look at the units tab, he's at 70 workers and only 48 drones right now for our Zerg player Vibe, and he's maxed out, which means his army's huge.
His income's really, really poor right now. He's only really mining from a base and a half. His third is actually very much mined out. He's lost a lot of the mineral patches here, and they're going to be done pretty soon. Puck's been sitting on his fourth and the third base, and has been mining really efficiently from both, which puts Puck in a really good position. Puck's bank is starting to get pretty scary, whereas Vibe doesn't really have a bank. He's got a good gas bank, but he doesn't have the minerals right now. So if Vibe loses these mineral-heavy... Oh, that was huge! 4 Colossus picked off immediately there. Great abducts from Vibe. Storm comes down to try and defend Puck against that, but that was big. That was a really big move.
That was about as big as it gets here. There's going to be a huge Zealot counterattack, though, down in the bottom center. And these Zealots are pissed. There's even a DT mixed in, which is always a good choice, just to send one DT with that army. If there's no detection, that DT will survive for a very long time. He takes out the hatchery there. That hatchery isn't actually worth anything. And got to be careful with the army because of the Swarm Host.
Root Puck is not happy about that. I've got to say, he lost. Oh, that's ugly. Zealot run-by comes in to try and take down the Hive. It's not quite enough. The DT is there as well, but that's now being picked off by the Overseer there. Puck's in a bad spot right now, honestly, having lost a lot of very much high-tech units, and also Templar with a lot of energy. Vibe is still in it, and Vibe is trying to reestablish his base over to the side here. The thing that Puck's got going for him right now is this base. It is oversaturated, but he's still mining from this and his third, which is a pretty big deal. So he may be able to remax, and Vibe is still going to be struggling in that regard. But Vibe is now the one with the bank. Has a huge amount of gas in the bank here as well. Another run-by comes through to try and take down this 5th base. It won't be successful, but you can keep doing that, because you can't heal this up particularly quickly. You've got to do something. I mean, he took it down to almost nothing. Another Zealot run-by would kill that.
And you also got to remember that Puck has a lot of minerals in the bank. He's very low on gas, so Zealot counterattacks are basically what he needs to do here to buy himself some time. He's got his 5th base on the way over here, which is what he needs. We mentioned being low on gas. Well, a good way to fix that is to expand. So Puck, I mean, look at this army composition. Stalker, Colossus with only a couple of High Templar. So he is very susceptible to those abducts. It's going to be very difficult for Puck to actually break this. He's got to go for it, though. This is the stronghold. There's going to be a counterattack of Locust in the top right side as well. But this is basically the strongest point of Vibe. If he takes this out, he might be able to delay the income enough here, but we are about to see a ridiculous battle take place as the Hydras and Locusts are in position. Can they spawn the Locusts in time? It's actually pushing the Hydras forward. You got to be careful.
All right, how good are these abducts? That's the question. All the Colossi pulled in. 1, 2, 3, and 4 go down. Another fungal growth goes in as well. Vibe streams in. He is still taking a lot of damage here. He eats a storm. He eats Colossus. The storms are absolutely massive right now. The Hydra wall just melts. And the thing is that the Swarm hosts, on the other hand, did stay alive, and the second wave of Locusts is what is going to kill Puck's army here. Puck must back away at this time. However, Puck did take out the only mining base of Vibe at that point. He's going to trade here for his own, but now he's reliant on this one. Man, you can't Zealot run by this. Look at this. Look at how many spine crawlers there are here. Oh, he's slipped through. There's a hole in the wall. Can he kill it? It's so close. How good is his damage? He takes it down. That's the only mining base of Vibe. It's gone.
Oh, that's huge. Long-distance mining has begun, and both these players, I mean, I've already said this, but this is a brutal fight to the death right now, as both players are having some missteps here. One player's losing expansion. Well, guess what? The other player also lost one. One player loses an army. Guess what? So does the other one. I would say that Vibe is definitely in the lead here as far as how terrifying his army actually is, because if we look at the units tab, 20 swarm hosts, with 22 Hydras. I mean, what does Protoss have right now to deal with that? It's going to have to be a lot of swarms, side storms, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that in time out of Puck, because Puck is going to be losing his only mining base. Keep in mind that there are 32 probes here, which he cannot afford to replace, and they do manage to escape there. But I think right now that Puck, he needs to get out a lot of storms. He's got to try and make drops work. It's going to be tough,
Yeah,
though.
he only just got away with that. Like, that shouldn't have happened. There was an abduct, but it didn't kill the warp present. Vibe was focused on killing the 4th base, and that's a huge warp, and that hive is going to die. This warping could actually be massive. These are +3 zealots with +2 shields and +1 armor. And Vibe's going to have to try and respond to this as quickly as he can, but this hive is probably going to... Yeah, there it goes. The hive is dead. The Hydra Den is going to die here as well. Vibe is slowly but surely moving into position to deal with this, but this Hydra Den is going to go down. That's a big deal, because Vibe has been relying on that tech so much, and he hasn't replaced it either, so this is pretty huge. Man, this is a great fight going in between these two. Vibe is starting to push forward again with his Swarm host, trying to deny this 4th base once again, but Vibe's not close enough to hit the 3rd or to hit the army of Puck, who's re-established over to the side here. Is now long-distance mining.
And the important thing to remember there, TB, is, normally sniping a hive tech is actually not that big of a deal because they already have the tech structures. But the problem is he can't afford to reproduce lair or hive right now because he's not mining. I mean, taking a look at the income tab, his income is 120 minerals per minute there. The Locusts are going to be locking down the Puck expansion once again. Oh, he didn't actually have to cancel that.
Yeah, he got the cancel.
Locusts did die, but either way, a base is up on the left side now. His Colossus need to stay with the army right there. If he can hang on to this base, then he can hang on to this game. But that Nexus might get taken down.
It's probably going to die. I mean, there's too many. You can't stop that many Locusts. They're +3. They will just... a couple of volleys is all it takes. The only way you can do it is to stop them even getting there, which needs force fields, and he doesn't have anything that can do that. So Puck is now trying to reestablish here, and what we're going to see from Vibe is going to swing left and right. The thing about Swarm Hosts is that, like, you've got this window where they can only really attack in one direction. Vibe gets another cancel there on the 3rd base. So you can swing around them and then hit them. But right now, Puck, I think, is in a do-or-die situation. He's got no bases really left.
Right now as
he gets one. Couple of infestors as well.
Yep.
That's all right, but he's going to lose most of his stalkers here. In fact, all of them are going to go down. So he loses a lot of his meat at the front. There's not a lot of zealots in this army. This army from Puck is actually really weak. Army supply between them 135 to 62. And unless Puck can get a mining base reestablished, he is dead in the water, I think. He doesn't have an answer to these swarm hosts right now, and it's just going to be a slow grind.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no other way to put it here where it's been a very close game. But, again, Protoss just does not have the tech he wants. Now, he does have a lot of high Templar. Storms can easily turn a game around if they land in the correct positions. But I gotta say, Vibe being very smart here, just assaulting this base over and over and over again. Even if he only gets a couple of shots off, like this, for example. If he just holds position these Locusts, they're going to kill off the probes. Trying to long-distance mine, and at this point, Puck can really not afford to lose anything. I mean, supply is 130 to 149, a pretty brutal game. There's still long-distance mining going on the right side as well. I mean, just look at the mini-map. There's just so much long-distance mining going on for both players that the income is almost laughable here, and it's going to come down to one final battle, and I think it's going to be tough for Protoss to engage this many Locusts unless he gets the absolute perfect angle here, and we do have Hive Tech on the way once again, though.
Yeah, High-Tech is being rebuilt and Burrow is being added on as well, which is a really interesting move. A nice little attempt to intercept here. I think I don't think Puck can hold this base. Not without the addition of force fields. You can't stop those locusts without force fields. You can storm them, you can colossus them, but it doesn't really matter unless you can kill the swarm host in the first place. A lot of storms landing on the swarm hosts here. He's doing a pretty good job. The abducts are about to come in though. Where are the hydras? The hydras are actually behind here. This is a really bad engagement for Vibe, but now the hydras are in the mix. And can Puck actually make this work? It's so close in army supply right now. Puck needs to back off, recharge his Templar energy. He's got to stop those locusts from hitting his main army. Oh, there's a whiffed fungal as well. Puck actually has a chance here, but Vibe has re-established his base over to the side, and it's well defended.
An interesting thing to note as well, TB, 8 Vipers on the way. He's assigned to rely on his micro as opposed to having, you know, Hydras or Roaches or Zerglings or something like that. So basically what's going to happen here, I think, in the next battle is once those 8 Vipers are out, he's going to try to abduct just the entire army. I think he realizes as long as I can get those 5 remaining Colossus on top of my army, the Hydras are going to be able to snipe it down. So Vibe's going to try and buy some time now. Where are those Vipers at? They've just now spawned. Do they start eating up these buildings to get extra energy? If he does that, he is going to have a grand total of, he has 6 Vipers out now. And we'll see exactly how he uses those, but he needs to get that energy and get it fast.
Yeah, he does. And he can't... man, Puck has this opportunity right now to go for it. If he can keep this Colossus alive, if he can kill the Swarm hosts, that would be great, but he doesn't see where they are. He's now backing away. It's so risky to go in this position, because if you lose your army now, you have no means to defend this 4th base. And this is Puck's mining base here. Is now trying to establish to 5th here, but this has been mostly mined out. So, honestly, we've now seen every base on the map taken. To some extent. That's never going to go up. There's no way. Vibe is not going to allow it to happen. But I think, honestly, Puck builds that to draw Vibe's army away from his actual mining base, which is to the left here.
Yeah, I think you're right there, TB. And I think, really, that Vibe was hoping for an engagement on the right side. I mean, his Vipers were there, the Spines were there, the Swarm hosts were there. That's kind of like running into a siege tank line, man. It's definitely not worth it. But right now, moving out to the left side, making sure there's no base over there is Puck going to be jockeying for position. And I got to say, he's being very smart here, TB. Constantly retreating, trying to buy time while he slowly builds up his army. That is exactly what he has to do to stay in this game. It's got to be frustrating for Vibe, but it's the correct move here. Does yoink over 1 High Templar.
Nice grab.
And those are basically invaluable at this point, just because there's such low income right now.
That guy had full energy. Yeah, he was ready. He was prepared. He had trained his entire life for that moment, and then yoink, he's dead in a minute. That's really upsetting, honestly. But I think that, honestly, Puck is going to have a really hard time here. He has now been sieged up and contained with these Swarm hosts, and they will eventually kill Puck. Unless Puck is somehow able to deal with that. He has just enough Colossus here, but the Abducts are going to come in. Feedbacks on the Vipers, but here they are, and another Colossus falls, and Puck's in a lot of trouble here. The funny thing is, Puck actually has the supply lead, although that's due to his number of probes, not his number of drones. Vibe is only on 16 drones. He's playing the lowest economy game I've ever seen from Vibe here. His income is really low, but his bank, his investment, his hedge fund here is his Swarm hosts.
Now, I want to say that Puck did do a big, massive counterattack with a huge amount of Zealots here. He's actually going to kill some Infestors here. They're completely caught out of position there. The Zealots getting a big, big pickup. They do eventually burrow there. I don't know if he's going to get this hatchery or not, because the Hydras are here right now. The upgrades on the Zealots
no, it's close. It's really close. Down it goes.
Barely. He lost a lot there. There are Locusts attacking on the left side. They just popped out. I got to say, Puck doing everything he can to hang on here. He needs to make sure not to engage those Locusts, though. Being so patient with his counterattacks. And now, once again, I think that Puck is actually ahead in the income tab right now. He's got 43 workers to a mere 11. That is exactly what he needed to stay in this game. Does he have what it takes to kill off these Swarm hosts, though? I mean, the Swarm hosts are just raking in the kills at this point. If you click through the Swarm hosts, you can see they're all approaching double digits on those kills. And I don't know how long Puck can hang on, but the supplies are still about the same. Income is not looking great for a Zerg player. And that counterattack, maybe the pendulum swinging back into Puck's favor. But man, such an epic game one here, TV. We're approaching 43 minutes in a PvZ. That is ridiculous.
I was hoping to be able to restart the stream after this game, but it's been going on for so long. We will be restarting after this, by the way, to try and get stuff sorted out. Wow, that Templar is like, oh, there's no Locust to kill me. It's okay, I'll just get a feedback. And funnily enough, Puck doesn't lose this base. He will lose it to the next wave, though. Again, he has no sentries, so unless Vibe miss micros here, this Nexus is immediately going to die. There's no question, and down it goes. And This is really rough for Puck here. He is trying to establish a base, but he has nothing. He now has no bases that can mine whatsoever. And as a result, Vibe has now reestablished to the left. And yes, the Zealot run by stops the base to the right, but I think at this point, Vibe's probably got this. Because Puck only has his current army, which is 3 Colossus, 4 Templars, 6 Stalkers, a Void Rain, 11 Zealots. Which is not going to kill 20 Swarm Hosts and 4 Vipers. That is not going to